Siri.
All right, welcome to Nerds of the Old Republic, the podcast where we drink and discuss nerdy fiction, and where the bells mean points, but the points mean nothing, except to Mike, who, every time I see him, now I'm going to ring a bell, because he's told me that his self-worth is solely dependent upon bells.
That was my power-up sound. I'm sure that came across.
Nice.
The angel just got its wings, too.
Indeed, yep. I'm Adam.
I am Shaun.
And I'm Mike.
And last episode, we discussed some of the recent fiction of the old man, the one and only Stephen King, who I called Dr. Mr. Stephen King Esquire as a Spider-Man No Way Home joke. And today we're going to be talking about the Sunny Boy, Mr. Joe Hill, and selections from his short story collection, Full Throttle. But first, we want to thank our growing community of listeners and followers on social media, and a special thanks to the listening community at Good Pods. They are so supportive, and we continue to rank highly among similar podcasts like Arts and Books and Hobbies. We are also recently featured on Podbean, so thank you very much, Podbean, for putting us on your homepage with a couple other podcasts. They also happen to be the host of this podcast, so thank you for that so much. It gave us a big boost in downloads. We got to meet some new people online, and if you followed us from Podbean and this is your first episode, I would definitely go back and listen to Stephen King just so you can kind of hear the tie-ins, but also thanks for being here. If I haven't followed you back, I'll try to make sure that I do as I hop on to do some work for the podcast.
Yeah, stop slacking, Adam.
I'm sorry. We gained 64 followers in a day. It was kind of a lot, which is awesome.
Thank you.
So,
That's awesome. Thank you, everybody.
So many interesting people that I get to see now on Podbean thanks to that, because I followed everybody back, and then like half the podcast they follow. So we got a lot more in that feed to watch. A big thanks to everybody, too, who has been nice enough to post reviews on Apple Podcasts. If you like the shows and topics we discuss, if this is your first episode and you're like, damn, these guys are as funny as they think they are, please consider rating and reviewing us.
Impossible.
Oh. You underestimate my power! Thank you. That's the first time in 2 years that I've correctly used a Star Wars quote at the right time. Right. But if you could rate us, review us, it'd be a big help. Be sure to follow us on Twitter and Instagram. Our handles are @NerdsOfOldRepublic. And I just think our Twitter is off the friggin' hook because Mike holds that down so well. He's grown our listenership there, our audience there, and has some great conversations with people, so I really appreciate that.
He's quite the twit. That's what you call them, right?
I believe it's
that was a
Twitter. Yes, there we go. Here's
Twitter.
For that. Here's for Mike's self-esteem again.
I prefer to. My self-applied title is Twitter God.
That's much better.
Yes,
Yeah.
but you know.
I mean, your business card says Director of Social Media, so.
Yeah, you know, it's corporate jargon, but
wait for that check.
But it's unofficially.
Don't
Twitter
remind
God.
him.
Oh, that reminds me.
So remember how that check got lost at the printer, and then we got this fancy new Rodecaster Pro soundboard?
Oh, yes. This is the Roadcast.
I believe our
Coincidence, I
CFO
assume?
made a mistake and directed your check to buying more sound equipment.
God damn. Well, I assume this fancy new soundboard will just increase the quality and therefore bring in more listeners and therefore much more revenue. So it'll pay off. I'm playing the long game.
I believe it's going to more accurately represent the dulcet tone of your voice, and people are going to be just absolutely mesmerized.
Yeah, that's it.
Yes.
All right, so if you want to hear what we think about many other nerd-centric topics, speaking of Mike and his one of his many roles here at the podcast, don't forget to check out More Than Just Books, our blog on Podbean. There's so much going on there. Mike, what's the last thing you did on the blog?
I actually wrote about the movie Desperado, which is a Robert Rodriguez film. And that actually had stemmed from a conversation we had during our jiu-jitsu cast. Please check out our jiu-jitsu cast.
God.
We had so much fun on that. But we had talked about, you know, there's bad movies like that one.
Yeah.
And then there's good bad movies. And so I started thinking of my favorite good bad movies. And Desperado and the sequel to it, Once Upon a Time in Mexico, are two of my, you know, I don't want to say favorite movies, but they're very, very, very
We
good.
have guilty pleasures. Would you call it that?
I would definitely call it that. They are great movies. I've seen them many times. And so I had watched it as a result of that conversation and then decided, what the fuck, I'll blog about it. Because that's what
thoughts.
cool people do.
Desperado.
I was thinking about the same thing. Yeah.
Well, it actually, speaking of music in Desperado, there is a tie-in here. The soundtrack to that movie is mostly a band called Tito and Tarantula, which I was not really that familiar with, but I went back and listened to the album where a lot of that music comes from, and it's fucking fantastic. It's like Southwest blues shit. It's really cool. So
like blues.
It's been the soundtrack of my spring the last few weeks. Great album.
All right.
And you can't say no to Antonio Banderas.
That's right.
It's a fun name to say.
Oh, it so is.
Is this Salma Hayek in those two?
Yeah, my future
Once Upon a
wife.
Time in Mexico.
Yes, she is.
Is she in both of them?
She is. I believe she dies prematurely in Once Upon a Time in Mexico. But frankly, if she dies at all in any movie, it's prematurely.
Indeed.
She is a delight, an absolute
make it to the
delight.
end.
Speaking of premature, whenever she comes on the screen.
I don't know what you're getting at. I don't know what you're implying. I think she's a very talented actress.
Did I mention
Admire
we're
her
not safe
skill.
for work? Just in case you missed that on the podcast. That's what NSFW means. Yeah, she is gorgeous. So,
Speaking of gorgeous, Steve Buscemi is also in that film.
Oh, I mean,
man is a
it goes without
a
saying.
piece of work, for sure. He's as they say in William Shakespeare's Romeo and Juliet, he's a man of wax.
No, nice. I see. We do a little bit of high. We do a little bit of low.
That's right. Speaking of, I guess, high and low, we are drinking the same cocktail from last episode. If you listened, if you didn't,
I gotta fill
go
up.
back and listen to the Stephen King episode as Shaun fills up. We got a watermelon here jammed with pureed watermelon, vodka, lime juice, and am I missing anything? 7-Up and some 7-Up, which is fantastic on a warm summer night.
It is very, very nice.
Yeah, it's what you might call a day drinker or a session cocktail here. So I'm really appreciating that. Thank you very much.
Yeah, it's not bad. We got the tap right in the watermelon.
Yeah, it is fancy as fuck, as the kids say. Yeah, if you want to see the setup, Mike's got it up on Instagram probably by now, or Instagram, Twitter, and all the socials by now. If not, I done messed up. Sorry. Keep coming back. Follow us. Make sure you look for it.
I can see as
It'll
we're
be
getting,
up as soon as the check is on my desk.
Shit!
As the more I pour of this, the more like the puree that's settled.
Yeah.
It's getting redder.
It's almost Bloody Mary territory.
It really is. It started off like a pink, and then like was light at the top where the ice sits, and now it is really like full on red.
I need a better strainer.
Well, that's okay. All right. So shall we get then to Joe Hill, gents?
Let's do it.
All right. So we always start with like personal backgrounds, and I can keep this real fast for myself. 0. I have had 0 background with Joe Hill.
Ditto. Wait. It's not that show from the 90s with Hank Hill, right?
Is that King of the Hill?
Yeah.
Oh my God! What a terrible pun on Stephen King and
I know.
Joe
That's
Hill.
not all I got. That's it.
I'm
I got
sorry.
nothing
Yeah.
else.
Mike, anything?
Yeah, I like Joe Hill very much. My first experience with him was the book Nosferatu. It is one of the weirdest things I've ever read, but it was
I'm in
really,
for weird.
really good. It was just a nice, like, mindless summer read. I read Heart-Shaped Box, which is like sort of a grizzled old rock star meets horror fiction, which was again it's mindless stuff, but it's fun. I liked those 2 books very much. I had previously read the collection that we're about to talk about, Full Throttle, and I had not read the entirety of the Lock and Key series, but I have read the first volume, which is called Lovecraft Country. So a little bit of experience with Joe Hill, and mostly all very positive.
My wife and my daughter watched the Lock and Key show on Netflix. So I've seen some of it. I had no idea it was Joe Hill.
That's interesting. He actually seems to have a lot of success on Netflix lately. He's got, I don't remember the name of his other collection that they're doing the short story from, but he's got at least one other Netflix show coming out soon.
Nosferatu was a show.
Yeah.
Well, I'll save that because I peeked to edit the notes. And
So his career is over just like Netflix's.
Oh, Netflix is over because of the ads? Is that why you're saying it?
I don't know. They keep because it's like spelling doom for Netflix. Like
Oh,
it's over for them.
I don't think so. They're big
Yeah.
enough. Yeah. They are the Every, if you've ever read that from Dave Eggers. They're not going anywhere.
I don't think so either.
Jiu-Jitsu alone is going to bring in a lot.
I've watched that movie
This is
12
true.
times since we've talked about it.
Oh God, Adam.
That's false. That's false. But
Feels like it, though, doesn't it?
it really does. And I watched it at 1.25 speed, and it was still too slow. So I'm going to keep pointing that out.
That drink is definitely getting chunkier.
It is. And you know what? I'm starting to feel the vodka kick in, too. So,
okay, that's
boy.
good.
God bless us for podcast 3 and 4 tonight. So, we're going to get to Joe Hill. He talks a lot about his family's past and why he refuses to use his father's name in the introduction.
Yeah, I read that.
Yeah. Would you have recognized King's influence on his son's writing without knowing Hill was his son, you think?
For some of the stories where he was a collaborator.
Sure. Makes sense.
I think there is and isn't. He's very much his own writer. And he definitely also veers into like more the Neil Gaiman camp than the Stephen King camp in terms of maybe like the tone of the thing. There's always, or I shouldn't say always, but much of his stuff has a very like dark fantasy aspect to it that I assosociate with Neil Gaiman.
Oh no!
Or
Get Neil Gaiman's mouth out or name out your fucking mouth.
Or like a China Mieville. Or
just keep going.
Strong opinion there. But I do see a similarity to Stephen King in the sense of the way that like neither of them I think are very strong writers. But they tend to write horror, dark fantasy, dark psychological stuff that's built on the way they build tension and keep the page turning. So again, yes and no. I think that tonally he's more similar to a Neil Gaiman as I inch away from Shaun here.
They were already 3 feet apart.
I think stylistically he does perhaps resemble the old man.
Yeah, I think in terms of one of the central ideas in Hill's work being like revenge for perceived wrongs. I see that a lot in King's work too. When I think of like different seasons and that sort of thing, and like trying to, maybe like a bystander coming into a situation, you have to play catch up with what's going on. You have to find out what's happening, and then your job is to like figure out how to right the wrong, or like what is it morally okay here.
I agree with that, Adam, completely. And I remember it now, it just came to me. When I finished reading those stories that we all selected and the one I picked, I'm like, when Stephen King dies, they can fake it. Because Joe Hill can just keep writing stories under that name.
He could just
and no
take
one
over
will
the
ever
King.
fucking know.
Yeah.
So I was reading it going like, even the stuff he did himself, I'm like, it's just like Stephen King.
Yeah.
I will say, though, I'll put this marker down, that I think Hill's dialogue is better.
I agree.
Poop. If you don't know what I'm referring to from the last cast, go back to Stephen King.
I agree. I think
maybe a little.
I think in general the prose is better, which I hasten to add that is not the same thing as saying good. His prose is not. I would not say people should read Joe Hill for the prose, but I do not find it as cringe-inducing as I often find Stephen King's.
Maybe he was closer to Tabitha King than Stephen King in that regard.
Fair point.
Sure. We should actually do a 5th cast, and I'm just kidding, and throw Tabitha King in there.
I've never read any of her stuff.
Me neither, unfortunately. But
Same.
maybe for another day. Okay, so it's sort of a little resemblance there. Let's get into the stories then. So we each read Full Throttle, and then we picked another to read. And Shaun is already shaking his head no. So I'll let you take the lead on that one, even though I've got ideas. Go ahead.
I'm going to start off with my patented move here. Fuck Full Throttle.
That's one fuck per episode for the Kings.
I'm sorry.
Not since The City We Became by N.K. Jemisin have we had so many
God.
fuck yous.
This book sucked. Not this book, I'm sorry. This story sucked. It sucked. I read that going like, what the fuck was that? It was bad.
Yeah, right.
It was
I don't disagree.
straight up bad. No. I'm like...
This was like slush pile that got thrown onto it to make the book longer.
And it's ironic that this isn't just one or the other. It's both of them. Mm-hmm. Two of the most successful writers working today produced this story.
Well, you could tell what was Stephen King, too. Like some of the callbacks to the Nom stuff. And
yeah.
Oh, God.
That was so in there. And like, I really felt, what was it, Christine? The car that kills people. I'm like, this is like Christine 2.0 until they put a person in the semi-truck
What was the one with the
seat.
trucks killing? Was a Maximum Overdrive or something? Some stupid thing he did. Right. And it's like, I don't. It's.
But the one thing that I don't want to go as far as saying it redeems the story for me, because I don't think it's a good story, but that saves it from being just completely awful, is the ending, because it is so set up to be either like a spooky truck and we never find out what's in it, Or B, once we do find out, we're like, oh, so it's some psychopathic, like it's like a slasher film where people are just evil and they kill. And it's none of those things. The whole thing is is setting you up to think this is going to be a redemption arc where the father saves the son and they come to some sort of understanding together.
Hug on the end of the road.
And instead, the monster that's been mowing them down the whole time turns out to be a distressed. Was it the father of the girl that was killed, yeah? So it was the father, and he's like a distressed parent who happened to learn. That's bullshit storytelling that he's right there. But, the fact that he turns out to be sympathetic, you're like, oh, damn, that dude was trying to avenge his daughter, and the son is still an asshole, and the father has to send him off after saving him. Again, not enough to redeem the story, but it definitely, for me, if there's one part of the story that I did like, that was it. I thought the ending was okay.
I'll give it helps it, but the thing that killed it was when I think he says he was greased, Greased. And I'm like, oh my God!
Yeah, you don't need to spell it out for me. I have 2 degrees. Thanks, I got it.
Which is like the use of like 70s slang and stuff like that.
Oh my God! Yeah, it was hard to like look at the different generations and for them to write like the Iraq War generation as like this aloof, needing to push themselves constantly, really just trying to prove themselves to daddy thing.
Oh, but he was a pussy who ran away because he was scared.
Yeah. Right? Yeah, well, welcome to exactly how that generation sees feelings, right? So, like, he got that right. But I did find that a little bit interesting in that they were both veterans of different wars and how we just continue to fuck up young Americans. But that lasted for, like, 30 seconds.
There's some cool stuff in there, but it's the execution. So
good.
Yeah.
I mean, even the climax where he's throwing the flashbang into the semi-truck.
Oh, little boy?
Like, flicks him. Yeah, that's why I shouted little boy.
Oh, yeah.
Flicks him the bird. And he's like, not 1, but 2, slow the bird. Like, come fucking on. Honestly, what is this? My 9th graders write better short stories than that.
That was rough.
It was almost like they had designed a computer, and they just put in like all of Stephen King's work, all of Joe Hill's work into this computer, and it was like one of those neural net things.
Are you trying to set up Ex Machina and talk about AI right now? Because that's a great mid-episode plug-in, and probably a much better episode than what we're reading now.
Wow, my subconscious is way smarter than I am. But
right.
I was just thinking, like, it's like those things are like they have like those bots or whatever that like write new songs and the Beatles or whatever and using their old stuff.
They write sports recaps. Yeah. A lot of the sports news recaps on the internet are just bots writing it.
That's why I always wonder, like when you see like a mistake in the prose or whatever, and you're like, oh, is this person just like writing this really quickly? Like, no, there's no person writing it.
No, it's a bot.
And I'll continue to plug this for a future episode. My favorite TV show is Rick and Morty, and it would be so perfect for our podcast. But there's an episode where it all has to do with heists, and they create a heist bot who knows has been programmed with all the heist movie formulas from every heist movie ever. Yeah, and it actually like creates decisions for them based on the heist movie formula. And then in order to like try to avoid it, they have to create like an anti-heist movie bot that like fucks up the formula and tells them what to do to fuck up the formula and everything. So.
You see the plug into the spoon.
Oh, nice, buddy.
So your watermelon has officially kicked in then?
I think so.
Well, Shaun is graciously refilling my glass here, so I'll take the lead. We each actually also read a additional short story that we said we would talk about. Well, did we kick the keg? Did we kick it?
No, this thing's still...
Is it just plugged?
It must be plugged with pulp.
No.
Now, can I jump in?
Yeah, please.
Did we all read Fawn, or was that just me?
You know what? I forgot we all read Fawn, too, because, like... Maybe I'm trying to forget about Joe Hill.
Oh, okay.
Just maybe low-key forgetting about Joe Hill currently. But yeah, all right, let's switch to Fawn. That's a wiser move here. So, yeah. Are you all manning the tap?
The watermelon is... Oh, boy.
That's fine. Just, you know what? You can just hand me the watermelon.
Yeah, make the watermelon a sort of a jug.
We'll do keg stands from the watermelon.
Can you have 3 long straws?
Yes. That's fine. It's a smoothie, right? It's healthy. It's healthy. So, fill in the dead air while Shaun pours that. I appreciate that. So we all agreed. Oh my gosh, that's the like Ron Popeil, can you blend it shit right there. That's
definitely get
super
your helping
thick.
of fruit today.
Seriously, thank you. No, I think we might have kicked it. But.
Nope, I'm good. I still got a little hair in the glass.
So we can talk about Fawn then. So that was the other short story we all agreed to read. And so Fawn is a story based on hunters who are trying to hunt the biggest game they can. It starts off with them being in Africa, and the son of the protagonist, well, of one of the characters, I can't really say he's the protagonist, but the son of one of the characters being attacked by a lion who they thought he killed. And then as a return for saving him, another character shows the dad this fantastical hunt that you have to pay exorbitant amounts of money for. You can only go twice a year, I think it is, right? The door opens up, and then you get to hunt mythical creatures that the hunters actually don't even believe exist until they see one of the caged talking chipmunks. Is that right?
Yeah, some kind of like
chipmunky thing.
Chipmunk couple.
Yeah.
I forgot what they were called.
They have names too.
Yeah,
they get names.
Yeah, and then they get stuffed.
Yeah,
they do.
So
they do.
This, I hate to say it because I don't want to sound so negative about two of the most prolific writers currently, because they're like, the working man, the blue collar writer. But like, this just kind of felt like Most Dangerous Game to me.
Yeah, it has that ring to it.
That was pretty much it. Let's make it with mythical creatures.
I guess I didn't think of that. That's a valid point. I liked this story.
There's a lot of vodka in the bottom of that. All the vodka sat in the bottom.
Dude, you have to drink it.
I'm going
Shaun worked hard on that.
I believe it. He had to flip a watermelon upside down and everything.
But I thought, I think I mostly liked this this story for the very overt politics of it. It's
I agree with
the
that.
entitlement of the upper class, the sort of callousness of that class,
the toxic masculinity of hunting, and how they treated the boy who had feelings and just wanted to draw stuff.
Exactly. And then then there's like the mercenary aspect of the guy who's like in charge of this thing. Like, he discovered he had this asset and now he closely guards it and gets rich off of it. There was all of that, and then on top of that there's like this sort of story of a land like trying to free itself from exactly this type of I don't know. Like, I mean, it's a goofy story. It's a type of story where, as you're saying the premise into the microphone just now, it's like, it sounds goofy, but
I don't think it came across as
nevertheless goofy. Enjoyed reading it, and I liked the themes.
Narnia meets Most Dangerous Game, when you think about it.
Sure.
There you
go. What the problem for me was that they eat the fawns, and I'm like, that's half man, dude. Like, yeah, it tastes like goat.
That's the point.
But it's like half dude.
Humans are like self-defeating.
Right. It's overt. It's overtly political, this story.
Yeah.
Because the fawns like bring his hair back and shit like that, like help him look better.
It's a boner or something like that.
Yeah. It's like grinding up shark fin or something.
Yeah.
That's what everybody thinks it is.
It's a very different premise. Like, it's extremely unique, and I got to give him credit for taking like old tropes and turning them into something really interesting. It was okay for me. It was. What do the kids say now? It's kind of mid.
Oh my gosh! Don't. No. I mean, that is what the kids say, but no.
But let's not.
I'm just watching.
We're better than that.
I'm just looking at Adam drink this thing. I should get you a knife and a fork for that.
I was promised beer that we needed to cut. So
it literally looks like a Bloody Mary that just like went way
congealed.
too, like maybe a finger got caught in the blender.
But I'm enjoying it. That's the thing. It's good still.
I wanted to get some of that now. I was just looking at that, and you're having all the fun with it.
I'll share it.
No, I'll take it from the. We got plenty left.
There's still left in the. Wow. Yeah, it literally, like, I could stick a straw in it and it would stand up on its own. It'd be fine. It's still good.
Shall we do our individuals then, or
Sure.
Go ahead, Mike.
Oh, all right. I read Twittering from the Circus of the Dead, which is a really cool little story. It's told entirely in a series of tweets from a sort of bratty teenage girl who's on a road trip with her family, and she's clearly miserable about it, and she creates her Twitter account just to document how unhappy she is.
Sounds right.
And in the course of this road trip, I mean, obviously there's some character development and stuff along the way, but in the course of this road trip, they end up buying tickets as they pass this like night circus that they come across. And it's going to be hard to explain in a way that delivers how much it actually does work as you're reading the story, but you know, you immediately sense from her tweets that like this is a really fucked up circus and something's completely wrong. You know, the ringmaster is like this like girl who is like scantily clad and is on like stilts. Okay. And she's being chased around on stage by what appear to be zombies in hazmat suits.
I'm in.
That are trying to knock her down and eat her.
Immediately
and she's trying to tell the audience that like this is not a joke, that her family attended this like a week earlier, her and her boyfriend and her family, and they were all killed, and she's only survived as long as she can be the ringmaster and they don't catch her. And she keeps coming out to introduce the act. She almost falls at one point and injures herself and barely escapes. They bring up like the narrator, the person who's doing the tweets. They bring up her like brother on stage at one point, and they do this thing where they're throwing like knives at his head, and they actually, an axe, and it gets embedded in his neck, and they're like, she's like, wow, the effects are really good on this, and he comes out later in a hazmat suit, and he's clearly like one of them now, and it just gets increasingly fucked up, and by the end of this, she's like tweeting desperately for help as they're trying to hide and stay silent. And then, like, there's a little twist at the end where the Twitter account suddenly gets, like, taken over by the people who run the circus. And they're, like, they pitch it as, like, an advertisement and how fun it is. And you can only buy same-day tickets. And, you know, like, I don't know if I'm doing a good job or not, but it
I'm
works.
In. Like I've already said I'm in, actually.
I kind of regret not reading that one.
I do, too, because I feel like I read one that Joe Hill worked on with Stephen King, and I'm like, meh.
Yeah, no, this was, it was different in its, like, stylistic delivery. And it was also a really like interesting horror premise. I enjoyed it very much, and I recommend that story.
Yeah, that sounds really good.
Yeah, it does.
Damn.
I mean, I have a tough time following that. You want to rock, paper, scissors for it?
I'll just
If
go.
you want,
All
I
right,
can
go
just
ahead.
tell mine 2 more times.
Yeah,
for both of you.
that's a
It
good
would be
idea.
more entertaining than Thumbprint. I can tell you that.
Gosh, I read Late Returns.
Yeah.
About a ghostly library truck, and as I was reading, I'm like, man, this sounds like a Stephen King story.
Yeah.
It was very much like the old man. Like it was like, you know what you should do? You should write a story about like a library truck. It makes deliveries from the past.
And you can affect the... I actually listened to that one, too, because I had some extra time.
Yeah, it was okay. I mean, I kind of thought it was interesting that they got this psychedelic library on wheels. I think what do they call it? A bookmobile?
Bookmobile, yeah.
And it was neat. It was kind of interesting how they could affect the past and how they couldn't see the titles, and it was weird.
I can't
and
explain to you
wonky.
how much Shaun's shoulders are shrugging in the emoji.
Yeah, I mean,
right
again,
now.
it was a mid story. It was. So,
Yeah, it's
I mean,
just
I
mid.
kind of wish I would have read the circus thing now.
Yeah, honestly,
like I
me
chose
too.
poorly. I read this one because I read like a quick little like review blog, like blog thing about the book, and they said, "Oh, Late Returns has got some interesting things." Well, I'll read that one.
Oh,
Yeah, fuck. Why do I trust the internet all the time?
fucking it. I mean, you should trust us and then none of the internet.
Yeah.
Literally.
Meanwhile, in the background, I think someone's smoking a cigar somewhere in my neighborhood because I'm smelling it.
It smells
Oh,
good.
I have zero sense of smell, unfortunately.
Man, COVID?
No, not anymore, thankfully. But
Okay.
I literally just don't have a sense of smell. But
Or did you like a bottle rocket go up your nose when you were a kid or something?
yes, it did. No, no, actually,
Here, I want to go get some of that thick drink while you're talking
There
about
you
your
go.
story.
Thank you. Well, yeah, you're enjoying more than when I'm talking about Fingerprint. So, a Iraq war veteran comes back, and as the characters develop, you find out that the character was part of what you presume is like the Abu Ghraib torture
right.
and pictures, because they talk about like having to torture people to interrogate them, and then being in pictures where they're like naked and being told to stand in like stressful positions for hours and that sort of thing. So you get that interwoven with the protagonist's like everyday life, trying to return to normalcy as a civilian again, back home, and like that was moving because they're talking about like running and needing to run in order to like keep up their physical fitness, but also as like a way to like be just mentally okay. But they find out that they're being stalked by another member of their squad from Iraq, who is unfortunately clearly going through PTSD and thinks that they're being stalked by their other squad members and watched, and like, you know, the CIA is watching them or some shit like that, unfortunately, and they're not getting the help they need. So they actually end up stalking and cutting off the digits of other squad members and sending it as warnings, sending fingerprints in ink as warnings to the protagonist. And eventually it comes to a head where that other squad member is in the protagonist's house, and there's the physical conflict that ensues from that, and then the emotional conflict of having to take down this person who, you know, you were involved with in Iraq, and obviously you've got a complex relationship with because of the things you were forced to do over there, and then how they're treating you there. And like emotionally, as I retell it, I feel more invested in it than when I was reading it.
Ah, okay.
So like, I hate to say it like that, but for whatever reason, even though the content is moving and the story is prescient, I don't know, it wasn't one that I found memorable.
Right.
Sounds like
way.
Universal Soldier.
Yeah,
The
I
way
can
you're
see that.
describing it like that sounds just like Universal Soldier.
Is that with Wesley Snipes? Or am I
No,
thinking
it
of a
was
different-
Dolph Lundgren is the bad guy, and Jean-Claude Van Damme is your protagonist. And it's classic 90s.
Nobody can get their heel as high as Jean-Claude Van Damme.
Oh, man. Nobody can do a split like that, man.
Neither can Jean-Claude anymore.
Hey, man, don't you besmirch. Get Jean-Claude's name out your fucking mouth.
Hey, man. I have a lot of respect for him and Chuck Norris and what they did in the 80s for, like, you know, that patriotic porn shit they did where it was like, fuck yeah, America, we got guns, we're going to shoot the bad guys.
Adam's having a moment. A bald
I
eagle
am.
just flew overhead.
Yeah, literally did.
Adam's going to go out and start up his Trans Am and do donuts.
Proud to be an American, where at least I can have my guns, like, and all that shit.
You know, and it's funny is Adam's the only one here driving an American car.
I am actually made and designed in Fremont, California. Yeah, but in any case, so you know, I thought like the concept was good, and the protagonist was interesting. Just something about the delivery didn't hit for me.
I gotta say, I mean, Joe Hill's just like, I'm like,
I mean, maybe we should have read one of his standalones, like Nosferatu or.
Well,
Maybe,
yeah.
yeah.
I mean, I was saving this for the recommendations, but I'll go ahead and say it now. I mean, of the things I've read by him, this was my least favorite. We picked it because we had picked the theme of short stories.
Yeah.
I thought Nosferatu and Heart-Shaped Box were both great. I mean, great not in the sense of like William Faulkner or Ernest Hemingway or something like that, but great in the sense of like a sort of pulp fiction. I really enjoyed those two books, and I'm not sure why I didn't continue on with Lock and Key. I have always meant to, because I enjoyed that first volume very much as well. Full Throttle was at the bottom of my list of the things I've read by this author. So
It's a bummer.
Yeah.
I feel like we keep picking things at the bottom, like
we didn't
Joe
do Stephen
Hill,
King justice. Yeah.
Stephen King, even N.K. Jemisin, who you liked, except for what we read together.
That's right. Yeah.
maybe we should just call ourselves bottom feeders of the Old Republic or something.
Let's take all these great artists and do their worst work.
Well, we're also trying to do like their new stuff, so people know
Yes.
what's coming out. So,
True, yeah.
you know, in fairness,
A lot of people
we're doing a service.
We're sort of taste makers. A lot of people look to us for that. So
I guess I'm not chomping at the bit to read more Joe Hill, but I wouldn't say no if like you were like, you got to read Nosferatu or something. Like, okay, yeah, I'd do it. It's like it's not like I'm saying like, no, fuck this.
right.
Except for Full Throttle. Full Throttle sucked.
Yeah, the actual story, Full Throttle.
Yeah.
Literally sucked. I will go back and read that Twitter one.
Yeah, that sounded cool. The Twitter circus.
That was a good story, and there were a couple other in the collection, but I read it years ago that I remember liking. There's one that's called like All I Care About Is You. I remember that being pretty good. There's another one that he did with his father called In the Tall Grass, I think.
That's the one that's going to be a Netflix show.
And
Yeah.
I remember liking that one too. I thought I remembered liking the one that you talked about, Shaun, but as you were talking about it,
Late Returns?
yeah, I'm like maybe it wasn't that one.
Late Returns.
I'm not
Late
really doing
Returns
it
was
justice.
mid.
It's not terrible.
Yeah.
It's cute. It's cute.
But there were some stories there that I had very little use for. There's one it's called like Dark Carousel or something. I couldn't even tell you what that was about. There's one where he tries to do one of those, like, the way the words appear on the page, like, type things. Like, it's, like, designed to look a certain way on the page, and I thought that one was stupid. You know, so it was a mixed bag. It really was.
I thought it was...
I mean, I guess most writers have that.
And I'm not a short story guy for the most part anyway. It takes a very specific short story to get my interest, and then I respect it all the more, because most short stories are very underwhelming to me.
I really like the opening when he's talking about growing up and his dad and his influence on him and stuff. I thought like that kind of shit was very much like on writing, which was the thing I shouted out in the Stephen King cast. And I'm like, you know, it was kind of insightful, and to realize that like Stephen King's kids, they don't have to do jack shit for life. Honestly, like they don't have to do a damn
They're probably
thing.
fine.
But they're all authors.
Right.
Yeah.
His wife's an author. It's like quite a family of authors, and it's like the kid was like he's our age or a little older than us, and he's
Still a little
was a slacker his whole fucking life. And was he like 30 something? He's like, yeah, maybe I'll be an author.
Yeah,
Now he's like
honestly,
early 40s. Yeah.
his family could have like punched his ticket for him too. You know?
Yeah.
I mean,
And
the whole
he
thing
says
about
that.
his name is like because it was important to him to know that he was making it on his own merits.
Yeah.
And I think that's to his credit. I think that's really great.
Agreed. I thought that was cool.
Yeah. To come back full circle, what's more American than pulling yourself up by your bootstraps and making it on your own? I don't know why I put on this voice for that.
Yeah, I don't know either.
I don't know either. Sorry.
Yeah, what region of the country was that, Adam? That you're?
I'm gonna say that is fictional cartoon voice, Adam.
Oh, okay.
There we go.
Let me take a crack at this.
Sure.
What's more American than pulling yourself up by your own bootstraps?
That's pretty good. That's pretty good.
Well,
Yeah.
we can. I mean, you should do like Brooklyn or something.
okay.
I thought we were all doing like a Southern thing because I could do like that.
I could do a Southern.
Do what's more American than getting yourself up by your old bootstrap, dang old bootstraps.
You know that we
was
just
great.
lost the entire South, right?
They
don't download our
No,
shit
actually,
anyway.
legitimately, it's New York, California, Iowa, and then world.
Yeah, there's like a blackout in the South and Vermont. For some
yeah.
reason.
Yes.
What the hell, Vermont?
Come on, Vermont. I love you.
I'm looking at Mike's empty glass. I'm thinking he's got to spoon up some of the chunky goodness.
What's this I've been hearing about this podcast? What in the world is that?
Wow.
We gotta get a special guest from our school there who can do a really good Southern accent.
My voice acting skills are subpar.
No. Is it lightning round time?
It is lightning round
Lightning
time. Let's
round.
get at it. All right. So, if you've never listened to us before, lightning round basically is 3 questions I ask Mike and Shaun. First to ring in gets to answer, and if they get the exact wording, no, I'm just kidding. If they're close enough, horseshoes, hand grenades, and little boys included, then they can get the point. The points mean that they can win if they get 2 out of 3. And right now, the series for this season is tied. Exactly tied.
Stayed tied forever.
Stay tied. No, I'm just kidding.
He should just say that every week.
Every week. Build the
This
tension.
is it. This is what it's all been leading up to.
This is game 7.
Oh, yeah. So, question number 1. What movie, based on his father's
What the fuck?
novel, did Joe Hill
Wait, no,
appear
you
in?
can't. No, he rang him. You don't get to finish the
I'm
question.
sorry. We never delineated that.
What was the rest of the question?
No, you can't.
Fine,
do that.
I can't repeat it. In fairness to Shaun,
I think I may have
can't repeat it.
misunderstood where you're going with that
I
question.
believe so,
I was gonna
indeed.
say horns.
It's not horns.
Damn.
Sorry.
I thought you were asking about one of the books that he had written that was getting made into a movie, and I was
Oh.
because this is game 7. I choked, man.
He's so amped up. He took so much anabolic steroids before this episode.
He's the Florida Panthers.
So pissed. Oh, wow. All
See him
right.
right now, can suck a dick.
So the rest of that question is, what movie based on his father's novel did Joe Hill appear in?
He talked about it too in the beginning. It's Shiza.
Is it horns?
Oh no, because he. Like
I would have given you the point if it was.
Stephen King was in it too, wasn't he? Like it was like a bit part or something.
I'm not at liberty to say.
Pet Cemetery.
It's not Pet Sematary.
It's one of those like classic though from the old
Creep
days.
Show.
Creep Show.
Directed by George A. Romero.
That's it.
I was going to say we could just name every movie that's been made
Let's
out of
go.
a Stephen King book.
Nobody gets that
until we
No.
get it.
Yeah,
Adam's over there
you're
chewing
right.
his drink.
I'm sorry about
good.
that.
I
I'm
choked,
chewing
but
my
you
ice,
failed
actually.
to capitalize.
I did.
So.
I will say that was in the introduction, and there's a funny story where Joe Hill apparently had just got done filming this scene where his dad actually, his character's dad in the movie, like, slaps him.
Oh, yeah.
And so they did, like, all this makeup. He's got a big bruise on his face. And then Stephen King takes Joe Hill out for, like, Burger King or some shit afterwards. And everyone's eyeing Stephen King like, you fucking child abuser. What are you doing here? So, like, you know, they didn't.
He fell on the stairs.
Yeah, that's right. Hit his face on a doorknob. All right, question number 2. What novel of Hill's was adapted into...
It's
Not
Horns!
It is Horns, actually.
Yes!
It is Horns.
Son of a bitch.
Adapted into a movie starring Daniel Radcliffe. Yep.
It's Horns. What is Horns?
Could I just tell you, it's tied.
It's tied. It's perpetually
I'm not doing
tied.
this
This is it.
on purpose.
This is
All
it.
right. All right, so
This is for everything.
I typically do a numerical-based question. This is not over-under. So I encourage you both, Mike, to listen to the full question before you answer. You must answer it. No,
Oh,
I'm
come
just kidding.
Are the
I'm just
mics
kidding.
even
All right.
picking up the bells today?
They are. They're doing a good
They
job.
are? Okay.
Yeah. Which has Joe Hill written more of, novels or comics?
Assuming that by comics we are going to count Lock and Key, I hope I can assume as a series, novels.
I'll say comics.
I'm not sure how I can score this one because it is not novels.
Oh.
Ooh,
I mean, is he written-
default. I win,
Has he
motherfucker.
written more than Lock and Key? Because I would have counted Lock and Key as a whole, as a single whole.
Oh, as a single piece, because
Yeah.
when I looked at, so here we got to talk about technicality, because when I looked up Joe Hill's website, he has the volumes listed separately, similar
Okay.
to like
Well,
Saga
Joe Hill said
compendiums.
it. So it's tied again.
We might have to
still
arm
tied.
wrestle.
We're still tied.
No, we got another
this is
cast.
the
We
second
got another
cast
cast
in a row
over
here.
here.
When I was at Joe Hill's website, he has 14 graphic novels listed
All right,
and
that's
8
fine.
novels.
I would have counted them as a whole, but you know what? For the sake of tension in the show
Sure.
and for us being able to say in a third straight cast that this is for
still tied.
everything. And it's tied.
Everything. And there's only one more episode.
That's right.
My drink has
Only
a watermelon
Oh my
skin in
god,
it.
what is that does not look appealing. I can't
Sean
believe you just did
definitely just ate a little human finger flesh.
that. It
Very
kinda,
vodka-y.
yeah. It kind of looked like if someone had just like taken a cheese grater to their hand.
Yeah.
That's what he just put in his mouth.
This drink is a creep show.
You know what? It's actually
It
yeah.
started off delightful, and it's really kind of ending
It's
on a
gotten
bad
dark.
note here.
Yeah,
It's going to
gotten
be very
dark.
alcoholic, too.
Well, then it's probably a good time to end as we work to sober up here. So that's it for us. If you like what you hear, we'd love it if you gave us a rating on Apple Podcasts, shared our show with at least one other person, even if that person's going to give you weird looks about it. Like, seriously, they'll like it.
Yeah, be weirdly persistent about it.
Yeah. Just keep leaving your phone unlocked with our podcast playing on it in random places. It'd be great.
That's a great idea.
Yeah. I do that to my family all the time. They still haven't listened. While you were waiting for our next episode, watch the 2014 movie Ex Machina, directed by Alex Garland and starring Alicia Vikander and Oscar Isaac. Oh my gosh, I've become an Oscar Isaac fanboy.
I
Yes.
cannot wait to
great.
talk
Oh,
about
Jesus.
this.
All right, it's a sci-fi film known for being engrossing and thought-provoking, which means it didn't do well at the box office whatsoever. We'll see what we think of it in our last cast of the season, which actually we've been talking might not be our last cast, but we are going to take a
Yeah,
hiatus.
there may be a special bonus episode.
That's right. That's right. So listen in. We'll be back definitely in September with Neal Stephenson's Termination Shock. Is that the name of it
Yes,
now?
Termination Shock.
Thank
Yes,
you.
The new Neal Stephenson.
Yeah.
I believe this one is only 700 pages.
So, you
Is
could
that
probably
all?
pick it up the week before. You'd be fine. You'd be fine. Well, that's
I'll read it twice.
yeah, that's in part why we're taking a brief hiatus.
Yeah.
And also just so we can, kind of like rest, recoup, travel around the nation, pitching the podcast.
Well, we're taking this thing on the road.
yeah.
We'll be at we'll be in LA.
Yeah.
Nerdcast Roadshow.
Find us at the 7-Eleven on the corner of 5th and... No, I'm just kidding. But, no, we'd love to hear you and your thoughts on Ex Machina as it comes up. And we'd love to see you on the socials, too. So we're at Nerds of Old Republic on all these socials. Until then, cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers.